Okay, so we are live. So Darryl, feel free to just get started whenever you want.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Don't Go Home Without It. My name is Darryl Graves. I work with the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction Office of Reentry in the South Region. And we are really excited to be part of Central Ohio Reentry Week programming and services for this week. So we hope that this session is beneficial to everyone who's in attendance and also those that you are working with if you're a provider or service provider in our communities. And so today's session, Don't Go Home Without It, is about information on identification documents and the idea of reclaiming identity. And you'll hear a little bit more about that later. We just want to remind folks that you will be, I think, muted during the session. We encourage you to ask questions via the chat or put them into the chat session. So we will monitor that and respond to your questions either verbally during the session live or in writing via the chat. So we really want you to take advantage of the information and the opportunity to share this information with you. We appreciate you being here. And I will introduce to you my colleagues from the South Region, Lisa Morgan and Jennifer Nail. Ladies.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Happy Reentry Week. My name is Lisa Morgan. I am a reentry coordinator for the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction. I work in Central Ohio and the South Central part of Ohio. Jen, do you want to introduce yourself too?
Sure. I'm Jennifer Nail, and I'm the reentry coordinator covering Southwest Ohio, the Cincinnati and Dayton area.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. So I want to start this conversation by talking about wallets. I actually have mine right here. Kind of took a look at what was in my wallet and all the good things that are there. If Samuel L. Jackson were here, he might ask, what's in your wallet? And I really want to know the answer to that question. What is in your wallet? If you're able to chat your answer, if you're here on Zoom, or even if you're on social media, share your answer with me. What's in your wallet? What's in there that is important to you? And even if you can't share your answer, think about that. Think about those things that are in your wallet and what they mean to you. So I'll start. For me, one of the things that I have is my driver's license. What else is out there? What do you have in your wallet? Health insurance card. Great. Receipts, a lot of receipts, yep. Very little cash in mine, but some cash. ID. Some people might have a state ID card instead of a driver's license. Pictures of kids. Maybe a medical card or medical status, something that shows something about you medically that could help people. Actually, one of the things that I found in my wallet is my blood donation card that shows my blood type and the last time I donated blood. Some of the other things, I've got health insurance card, I've got a debit card, car insurance, I've got a library card, my driver's license, lots of things. Some people might have their voter registration card, employee ID card. Some people may have membership cards. Maybe you belong to a club of some sort or a gym membership. Lots of different things. So you may never have really given much thought to your wallet or what's in your wallet, but those are some pretty important things. Chat your answer or just think about this. What do those things allow you to do? So all those items that we talked about that someone might have in their wallet, what do those things allow you to do? My driver's license allows me to drive. My insurance card makes sure that I'm driving legally and not going to get in trouble. Obtain services. There are a lot of things out there that you can't do unless you're able to show your identity and who you are. So you might not be able to access services unless you have appropriate ID. Move around freely. Those documents help you move about your community. So they help you do a lot. If you think more about those items in your wallet, what do they represent? All those things put together that are in your wallet, what do they represent? Who I am. That's a very succinct way to put it. Those items represent who I am. So your wallet, the things in them, they represent you as an individual. Nobody's wallet's going to be the same. You're all going to have a different mix of cards and items and different things that represent who you are as an individual. So what's in your wallet represents your individuality, your identity. And they represent your right to participate in your community. You know, somebody said your right to move about freely, to do things, to contribute to the economy, and to have a voice in your government. So your wallet is super important, and the things that are in there are really important to you and your status in the community. Jen and I are both reentry coordinators for ODRC. We help people coming home from incarceration get connected with programs and resources in the community. And we help people figure stuff out. You know, there's a lot of processes, there's a lot of agencies to navigate, there's a lot of things to do when someone first comes home from incarceration. And sometimes people need help with those things, so they call us. And people call us often for help getting their identification documents. For many years, ODRC has provided a release card to each person as they leave prison. And it serves a very important purpose, and it is super helpful in helping folks get their state issued ID once they come home from incarceration. We noticed, though, that many people don't know the purpose of that card or what to do with it or when. And, you know, we were thinking about that. What a missed opportunity. We don't want people to leave with that card and not use it the way it's intended. So we put together an informational brochure that provides information, instructions on how to use the release card at the BMV to get state ID or driver's license. The brochure provides information about how to get your replacement social security card and birth certificate. It talks about voter registration and voter rights. It's wallet sized. It folds up so it can be tucked into a wallet for safekeeping. During reentry week, this week, so today through Friday, each person leaving one of the prisons in our area in the south part of Ohio will receive this informational brochure along with their release ID. And we really hope, we're pushing for this to become a permanent part of our release process. And our reentry administrator, Mr. Graves, is really helping us with that. We want for every person released from one of our prisons to get this release card, you know, not just this week, not just in our part of the state, but every person leaving every prison. We want to get that information into their hands or into their wallets before they are released from prison and come home. Another concern that Jen and I noticed, and other people too, people coming home from incarceration oftentimes don't have a safe place or a safe way to keep their ID or other important items. You know, people come into the parole office and they've got an ID loose in their pocket or in a big bag, or maybe it's, you know, tucked into a folder with some papers, and it's really easy to lose it that way. And like we talked about, it's so important to have those documents and keep them safe. We want people to have a respectable way to keep and organize their ID and other cards safe, you know, something they can be proud of. So for the past few months, Jen and I and our counterpart, Drew Case, he works in the southeast part of the state. We've been working with local organizations and reentry coalitions to collect donations of new and gently used wallets. Our theme has been don't go home without it. So during reentry week, again, today through Friday, each individual being released from one of the prisons in our part of the state is going to receive a wallet along with their release card, so they don't go home without it. We hope those wallets and the informational brochure will give each person a sense of pride and hope as they return home and start to reestablish their identity in the community. 114 men and women will be released this week from 15 facilities in the south part of Ohio. They're each getting a wallet, the informational brochure, other reentry resource information. We are proud to say that we collected 114 wallets. Most of them were brand new, plus a few extra men's wallets and about 20 extra women's wallets that will be left at the Ohio Reformatory for women, for women who leave even after this week. So we really appreciate the organizations, coalitions, co-workers, and friends who all helped and donated wallets and helped make that project a success. So we do want to talk about the information that is in the newly created informational brochure. So Jen's going to pull some slides up for us to take a look at. So like we discussed, state ID and driver's license and other important documents like birth certificate and social security card, they're super important. Those things are necessary to start a new job or apply for housing or public benefits, access services. You need those documents first. So gathering those, Jen, you've got something else up there. Yeah, there we go.
Sorry.
So gathering those documents can be an individual's first step toward successful reentry. And even if it's not the first step, it should be one of the very first things that people do when they first come home, because it's so important and because some of these processes do take some time. So I do want to mention first that we're not really experts in these topics. Jen and I are going to share with you what we've learned from helping people gather their identification documents. The information that we're going to share with you has been reviewed and okayed by staff who work for the BMV, the Social Security Administration, and the Ohio Department of Health Vital Statistics Office. So what we've put together here and in the informational brochure provides general information about what works for most people. Some people, though, may have an unusual situation or some different, roadblocks that they come across when it comes to gathering their identification documents. So in those difficult situations, we do suggest that the person contact the appropriate office directly for guidance. I also want to remind you all that this week, during reentry week, there are community pop-up events that are offered daily here in Columbus. So related to this topic, at those pop-up events, individuals will be able to request birth certificate voucher or ID voucher from some of our local partner agencies. And there's other great things going on at those pop-up clinics too. I think BMV staff are going to be there. You can talk about enrolling in reinstatement fee, amnesty program. You can meet with Department of Job and Family Services from Franklin County to apply for food or medical or other benefits. And you can meet with staff from Primary One Health to make medical appointments or even COVID vaccine appointments. So check those out today or this week. All right, so Jen is going to start us out by talking about the release card, the DRC release card. We will also talk about Social Security card and birth certificate, and we'll also talk about voter registration and voter rights for people coming home from prison.
I am sorry, everybody. My computer's being a little bit clunky. But one of the most important and most effective reentry supports offered by the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction is the Release ID. It serves as proof of identity under an agreement with the Bureau of Motor Vehicles for returning citizens to receive their permanent state ID. And we aim for every returning citizen to be issued a Release ID. We'll never claim that we're perfect, though. And if you're working with a client who reports that they didn't receive one, please let a coordinator like Lisa or myself know, and we'll look into that matter for follow-up. So the Release ID is going to reflect the returning citizen's name and inmate number, date of birth, and social security number. The photo will be in front of a bright orange backdrop, and it's going to reflect their release date. The Release ID does expire 120 days after they are released from prison. So we have a picture here of the Release ID. You can see the bright orange background and that the card says for Ohio BMV use only. A Release ID can be presented at the BMV office to have a state ID card issued, and the cost of that ID is $10. It's going to be mailed to the requesting person, just like a lot of us have experienced when we renew our driver's license. And like Lisa mentioned earlier, there may be agencies in the community that can help offset that cost for offenders who might not have the $10 readily available. The Release ID, however, does not get anyone around driving restrictions like testing, fines, fees, court sanctions, or any other restrictions towards restoring driving privileges or to have a valid driver's license. So one of the things that we want to emphasize is that if you are working with a returning citizen, one of the most important things that you can do on their return home is to ask them about that Release ID and encourage them to put it to use. Getting replacement social security cards, which we're going to talk about shortly, is infinitely easier with the state ID. And that Release ID can untangle a lot of knots for our population, but it only works when it's used. Lisa?
So once a person has been to the BMV and then received their state ID card or driver's license, then they can request a replacement social security card if they don't already have their social security card. And there's no cost for that, no cost for replacement. So this is a new process that went into place here in Ohio in 2020. You can now order your replacement social security card online. So you can go to ssa.gov, either log into or create a My Social Security account. And in order to do that, you have to have your state ID or driver's license, an email account, and a smartphone that can take and send pictures. So when I learned of this process last year, I ordered my own card just to check this process out. And it really was efficient. It was easy. So it walks you through the process of creating that account by taking a photo of the front and back of your ID, emailing it. They verify your identity that way, and then you can request the replacement card. Mine came in the mail shortly after I ordered it. If someone is not able to do that, there is a paper application that you can fill out and mail in. With that, you have to mail your identification document with it. So if you have your ID or driver's license, you have to physically mail it in the envelope with your application for replacement social security card. There are some other things that you can use in place, and the Social Security website will tell you more about that. Things like medical records that have your social security number included, you might be able to use if you don't have your state ID or driver's license. So this just shows a screen grab of information from the SSA website that kind of describes the process for requesting your card online. The website for the Social Security Administration is listed there, as well as the national hotline. I've always been told that it's recommended that they want you to do online, anything that you are able to do online. Then they want you to call a local office for help. And your final step would be calling the national hotline for help. The offices are still closed, at least here in Columbus. You can't walk into the Social Security office. So if you're able to do these things online, that's your best bet. So another thing that we hope that folks either have or are working to get shortly after they're released from prison is their birth certificate. So if someone was born in Ohio, one way that they can request and get their birth certificate is by ordering from the Ohio Department of Health Vital Statistics Office. The cost is $21.50. And again, this is a process that was new in 2020. You can now order online directly from the Ohio Department of Health Vital Statistics. So there's been a way for years that you could order birth certificates from anywhere, and that's still in place through a third-party company. When you do that, though, you pay extra handling and processing fees. So if you order online from Ohio Department of Health, you're only paying for the cost of the document. You're not paying additional fees. So I think that's fabulous. Go to odh.ohio.gov, click on Vital Statistics, and then follow the instructions on the how to order certificates page. So it'll walk you through the very easy process. You do have to have a credit card or debit card to be able to order online. If you don't, if you want to pay with check or money order, you can order by mail. So again, there's a website that you can look at and just a screen grab of the application, the paper application. And again, this is through the Ohio Department of Health. There is an email address that I was provided. If you've got questions about a vital statistics document, you can use that email address. There are other ways you can order an Ohio birth certificate. So locally in Columbus, for example, the Columbus Health Department, Columbus Public Health, if someone lives in another county, they can contact the county or city health department where they live or someplace closer. Again, Ohio Department of Health is just one option. Their office is closed right now for walk-ins. Prior to COVID, they did have same-day service for walk-in applications. Because their offices had to close, it's terrific that they were able to start this online ordering process. If someone was not born in Ohio, they need to contact the Vital Statistics Office in the city or county or state or territory where they were born. And one place to find that information is the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, National Center for Health Statistics. There's a website listed there, and it lists all the states and different departments where someone could request their birth certificate. The requirements, the cost might vary. I've seen, $50, I've seen $5 for different places, and the requirements may vary too. I have seen some states where you may have to provide documentation like your ID card in order to be able to order your birth certificate. You don't have to do that here in Ohio. If someone who is currently incarcerated has a mom or father who's listed on the birth certificate, a family member that might be able to help them with that process, they don't have to wait until they're out of prison in the community to order their birth certificate. The mom or father could do that for them if they're able to, order it and request it on behalf of that person. We really do encourage people to find a way to keep their documents safe. We've just described all these processes to get these documents. We want people to be able to keep them safe. Carry your state ID or driver's license with you in a wallet. It's not recommended that you keep social security card or birth certificate with you. For some people, that may be the safest way to keep it. I always suggest that people try to find a family or friend, someone they trust to help them find a place to keep those documents safe. So if it's not at their own home, maybe they've got family or friend that could store them safely. you don't usually need those things on a day-to-day basis, but you do want to have quick and easy access to them when it comes time to, apply for housing or benefits or start a new job.
So in the state of Ohio, people who have been convicted of a felony can vote after they have served their sentence, but there's a few important things to know. First, that person must register to vote, even if they were registered prior to incarceration. Voting rights exist while the person is on supervision, such as parole or post-release control. However, if an incarcerated adult is in a halfway house on transitional control status, which is one of our supervision types, they are still serving their sentence and can't vote until their transitional control period is over. After TC is finished, even if they move to being under post-release control, they can vote once they have registered. There is an online voter registration process. It's going to require a state ID, so let that be a reminder of the importance of that release ID again, or they can use a paper form. And DRC is working to make voter registration forms available to incarcerated adults pre-release so that they go home with the information they need to start participating in their local, state, and federal government. Please consider encouraging restored citizens to register to vote and to exercise that right. With Lisa's introduction, talking about one's ability to participate in their local community and their local economy, voting is an incredibly important part of that process. We wanted to make sure that everyone had contact information for ODRC's Office of Reentry staff in this area. So I'll leave that up on the screen for a while.
Again, we are the South team in the Office of Reentry. There are also 4 reentry coordinators and 2 reentry administrators who work in the north part of the state. So our contact information is here. The next slide will also show a general number if you need to reach somebody outside of our contact information. I do want to give a shout out to Drew Case. He is our counterpart in the southeast part of Ohio. He wasn't able to be here with us today. He covers Muskingum County, Athens County, and a lot of those counties along the river in southeast Ohio. Like Jen said, she covers Cincinnati and Dayton and a lot of the counties in the southwest part of Ohio. I cover Franklin County and the surrounding counties, and then the southern part of the state down to Scioto County. Shout out to our boss, reentry administrator, Darryl Graves, who started us off today. Our contact information is there. If anyone ever has any questions, feel free to reach out by phone or email. And again, this is the information just for our Office of Reentry within ODRC. We have an email address and a general phone number that you can call if you're not sure who you need to connect with.
Thank you so much, Lisa and Jen. Does anyone have questions? Any questions you want to put into our QA or into our chat? Mm-hmm. Or if you're on social media, send us questions that way, and we will certainly respond as much as we can.
I see we've got a few people connected with us on Zoom, and I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, but if anybody wants to kind of talk about maybe their experience with what we just talked about, we would be glad to hear from you.
All right.
If anybody does want to unmute who's on Zoom with us, just raise your virtual hand and we'll unmute you. Also, you can put any comments or questions in social media or here in Zoom on the chat. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. I do hope that people are able to check out those pop-up events that are happening the rest of the week. I think this morning they were at the Columbus Urban League. Tomorrow morning, well, tomorrow, 2 to 5, they will be at St. Stephen's Community House. Wednesday, noon to 4, the Clintonville Beachwald Community Resource Center. Thursday from 2 to 5, the West Side Free Store. And Friday, 10 to 2, the Church for All People. So again, they will have information about vouchers or financial help for getting state ID or birth certificate, along with a lot of other great resources there.
All right, I am not seeing any other questions or anything at this time. So y'all have our contact information. And again, we appreciate you joining us, and we appreciate being a part of Central Ohio Reentry Week. And if there's nothing else, everyone have a good afternoon.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for being here today.